Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and for today's episode of Mom Street USA, we are going to be tackling a topic that I don't think we've talked about yet on Mom Street, and that is specialty tours at the Disney parks. So today we're going to go through the tours at Disney World, Disneyland, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of those overseas parks and kind of what they have to offer as well. But we're going to focus mostly on the Disney World and Disneyland specialty tours that they have to offer. So lots of great information coming your way for this episode. We're just going to kind of jump in and give you all of the rundown. I will admit that I have not done a lot of these tours. I don't think any of them yet. A lot of them are on my list to do at some point in time, but I'm going to be giving you a lot of information straight from the Disney websites, and a little bit of information from some blogs and things online that I could find about all of these tours. But hopefully it'll give you a basis to go off of if you're looking into potentially trying one of these tours or budgeting for them, saving up for them. Some of them are a little pricier than others. So the goal is just to give you all sorts of information for these tours to help you make an informed decision if it is something that you're looking into. So let's talk just kind of general information about these tours. Generally speaking, now, this is not necessarily the case for every single one. So if there's one of these tours we talk about that you're really interested in, be sure to look it up. But generally speaking, these extras can be booked 60 days out from the day that you want to go. And they usually release the times and the availability at midnight, like morning of. So if you want to go, you got to make sure that you are on and ready, checking those times because some of these will sell out fast. Availability is never guaranteed. You want to make sure that you are ready to go so that you have your best chance of booking the time and day that you want for these. For most of these also, payment is going to be due in full at the time of booking. So that's a little bit different than what some of the other advanced reservations that you make are. So like for dining, for example, the majority of your dining reservations that you make ahead of time, payment is not due. Now, there are some exceptions like Cinderella's Royal Table and some of those different ones. But typically speaking, your payment is not due. For these specialty tours, payment is due at the time of booking. So when you're budgeting and looking at that, thing big to keep in mind. And also for these, there is typically a 24-hour cancellation policy. So do keep that in mind if something changes or if you have to adjust your schedule or your trip. Also to note that the full price will be charged and forfeited if the guest cancels within less than 24 hours or fails to show up. So you really got to be on top of that with this. Dining is a little more flexible with that 2-hour window for your dining reservations. This is a full 24 hours, so you really want to make sure that you're on top of it for that. So all of that being said, let's talk about specific parks and what they have to offer. So I'm going to go through all of the Disney World parks first, and then we'll hit Disneyland, and then just a few notes about some of the overseas parks as well. So starting at Disney World, we're going to start at EPCOT. EPCOT has quite a few specialty experiences and tours that you can go on. The first being what I think is probably one of the most accessible tours for people that are visiting the Disney parks, and that is the Behind the Scenes tour. So if you are familiar with Living with the Land, that is one of the iconic attractions over at EPCOT. This is basically a tour of behind the scenes of those greenhouses. So you will visit 4 different greenhouses. You'll also visit the backstage laboratories and the fish farm area as well. With that, this tour typically runs $39 to $45 per person. And I will note that for the majority of these tours, discounts do apply. So if you are a Disney annual pass holder, sometimes there are discounts for these. And then also, if you are someone who has a Disney Chase Visa card, you can also get discounts on these. So that's a really great perk of having that card. If you are not an annual pass holder, but you're looking for some discounts, that's a great option for you. The times run for this one They start at 10:30 in the morning, and then they go to 4:30 in the afternoon, and they're every hour on the hour. So those are kind of your times that you're able to book. So 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, you get the idea. Those are the times that they run the tour. Guests must be at least 3 years of age to participate on this tour. So very accessible even to young kiddos if you think that they are going to enjoy looking at all of the greenhouses and things like that. That's a great option for your younger kiddos. But do note that guests ages 17 and under must be accompanied by a participating adult that is 18 and over. So make sure that you're formulating your party for this tour appropriately for that. And just a quick note about accessibility that guests may remain in wheelchairs on this one or motorized scooters or ECVs throughout the experience. So, like I said, this one I think is really one of the most accessible options that you have for specialty tours. And my good friend Lem here, Live Laugh Lem in our live chat is saying that yes, this is the one way that you are able to legally and follow the rules and eat the cucumbers that they have there. So I'm sure most of you have heard about the people who maybe help themselves to some of the plants inside Living with the Land that you are not allowed to do. We do not promote that or condone that here. But this tour is the way that you are able to sample some of the vegetables and things that they grow in Living with the Land. So a super fun option, very accessible to almost every person that is visiting the parks. Also at Epcot is one of the what I would consider one of the more inaccessible specialty tours, and that is the Seas Adventure Dive Quest. So this is a scuba experience at the, Seas building over in Epcot. It is currently on the website, not available for booking, but it is slated to return what they call "spring" in quotes, 2025. So, should be returning hopefully soon, considering that it is, April at this point. I would hope that maybe they're bringing that back. I know that the Seas building has been going under some refurb. They've been closing earlier in the evenings to do just some routine maintenance on things, so that could be why it's kind of on pause for now, but I do envision that they would bring this one back, before too long. So, the description of this dive quest one is immerse yourself in a scuba experience with guaranteed calm seas, no current, clear visibility, and incredible marine life. So, do keep in mind that this is something that you have to be scuba certified before you come and do. So, that's why I kind of said that this one is a little more inaccessible for the general population because you do have to have that certification before you come to be able to experience this tour. And it is a little more pricey because of that. So it is anywhere from 229 to 249 per person. And again, those discounts do apply for AP and Disney Chase Visa card holders. You do have to provide proof of open water scuba certification for this program. So that is again something that you have to have beforehand. You will have to provide proof of that because they do need to have that, for obvious legal and safety reasons. All guests must be 10 or older to participate, and all minors under the age of 16 must be accompanied by a paying adult. So keep those things in mind. Disney does provide all of the equipment that you need for this. So, that is included in your cost, which is nice, including the regulator, which I'm gonna pretend like I have a clue what that means because I know nothing about scuba diving, but that is noted on their website that that is included as well. The times for this, I really couldn't find any specific information because it is currently not available, and none of the, information I found online said times, but I would assume that, that will all be available as soon as this comes back online. The dive quest experience lasts for 2 hours, and you will spend approximately 40 minutes on your actual dive. So 2 hours total for, prep and briefing, and then 40 minutes actually on the dive in the tank. So, uh, pretty decent length when it comes to that experience for the amount that you're paying. Again, we talked about guests must be 10 years older. And then any guests that are between 10 and 17 will have to have a waiver signed for the beginning of the adventure for that one. This program does have a lot of specifications regarding attire. So if you are someone that is wanting to book this, be sure to check the Disney website because it talks about very specifics on swimsuits to change into, can't have any jewelry, those types of things just for safety of all involved. So if that is something you're looking into, be sure to check the Disney website for specifications before you book, just so you know what you're getting into, so you're not going into it and kind of being blindsided by that. Um, Obviously, accessibility is something that we're going to talk about for all of these, but for this one, obviously, guests must be able to transfer into a wheelchair if they're in a motorized scooter. And then the cast member will bring the wheelchair down the ramp into the water for the guests to transfer into the water for an easier transition. So they definitely have accommodations if mobility on land is an issue. That is something that is really great for that one as well. So those are your two basic specialty tours that you're going to find in Epcot. Now we're going to hop over to Animal Kingdom, which I feel like is one of the more well-known locations for some of these specialty tours, because they do have several affiliated with the animals that they've got over there. So first one we're going to talk about over at Animal Kingdom is the Caring for Giants tour. And in this tour, you can get a closer look into the world of the park's largest inhabitants, the majestic African elephants. And that is straight from the Disney website. This one is actually fairly affordable. It is $39 per person, and again, those discounts do apply. The times for this tour, it is a 1-hour tour time, and the times for this tour are 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 2 p.m. So 4 times per day, and it is a 1-hour tour time that you have for this Caring for Giants tour. Guests must be at least 4 years of age to attend this experience. So again, very accessible to even the younger kiddos that you go with, but 4 years and up. Guests 17 of age or younger must be accompanied by a participating adult 18 years or older again. And that's kind of the general gist for all of these for these tours, basically speaking. For accessibility for this one, guests may remain in their wheelchair throughout this experience. However, due to the limited capacity on board the backstage transport vehicle, you need to make accommodation requests ahead of time by giving Disney a call. And all that information is available readily on the website. The other thing to note is that guests using an ECV must be able to leave their mobility device on stage where they will retrieve them upon conclusion of the experience. So the guests must be able to walk by themselves or be assisted by members of their party in a courtesy wheelchair to participate in this experience. So just a little note about that with the accessibility aspect of the Caring for Giants tour. Again, very easily accessible, 4 and up, $39 per person with discounts applying. That one is a really great option if you've got kiddos that love elephants. That one may be a really fun one to look into for them. Another really great option over at Animal Kingdom is the Up Close with Rhinos encounter. So very similar to what you just heard with the elephant one. You will get a special viewing area for and an up close view, hence the name Up Close with Rhinos, of these gentle giants. It is $49 per person with discounts applying. The times for this one is just 11 a.m. and it is a 1-hour tour time. So a little bit less availability for that one. So again, that 60 days at midnight when that booking window opens, you really want to make sure that you're on top of it so that you can book the day that you want. Because the availability for this one is a little bit more limited than some of the other ones that we've talked about so far. Again, guests 4 and older are invited to attend this program, and guests under 18 must be accompanied by a paying participating parent. That's a lot of P's, or legal guardian. Something to note during this one is that no cameras, cell phones, or video equipment are permitted during this experience. And that just has to do with the way that the experience is set up. it's a safety concern for the animals, and so they do not allow you to take any of that stuff out with you for this experience in that regards. And same thing for accessibility. For this one, non-transferable wheelchair guests may remain in their wheelchair throughout this experience. However, due to limited capacity on board the backstage transport vehicle, all accommodation requests should be confirmed by giving Disney a call. So you want to make sure that you are planning accordingly for that. And same thing with the ECVs. You have to be able to leave the ECVs on stage and retrieve them upon the conclusion of the tour. So that one is a little bit different in that you cannot have videos and photos for that one. So again, if this is something that you want to be able to have those memories of, you're always going to have the memories, right? But if you want to be able to capture those on film, the up close with rhinos maybe isn't the one that you want to be looking at if you're looking for pictures, videos, things like that. Obviously you can talk about it and reminisce afterwards and record some of that down, but it's just something to remember with that one. And we've got one more here for Animal Kingdom that you can look into, and that is the Wild Africa Trek experience. And this one is completely different. So the first two that we talked about are kind of more group tours where you just get that up close look with the bigger animals. This one is a privately guided VIP expedition full of close encounters with exotic African wildlife is how they kind of promote it online. So this one is a completely different situation. And you're going to see that with the price point where we were looking at $39 and $49 for those ones before. For the Wild Africa Trek, it is $219 to $229 per person. And again, those discounts do apply, so you can get a little bit of help from any discounts that you may have. But just quite a bit more expensive, but it is more of a privately guided VIP experience. So it makes sense that the price point is a little bit different for that one. As far as tour times go, 8:45, 10:15, 11:45, and 12:30 are your times for this one. And it is a 3-hour tour. So you get a lot more time, a VIP look, privately guided, more of an extensive experience, and 3 hours for that price point. So versus the 1-hour group experience, the price point makes sense with the difference there. Minimum age for this one is 8 years old. So you do need to pay attention to that. The ones prior to this were a little bit younger. 8 years old for this one. Guests under 18 also must be accompanied by a paying adult, like we talked about before. Also note there is a height requirement for this one. So not only an age requirement, but also a height requirement. So if you've got a smaller 8 or 9-year-old, pay attention to that height requirement because they must meet the height requirement of 48 inches for certain aspects of this tour. For safety concerns, they have to be at least 48 inches tall. There is also, for the adults in your group, there is also a weight restriction as well. So guests must be under 300 pounds to be able to participate. Note on the smaller end for your littler guests, they must be at least 45 pounds. So 45 pounds and 48 inches, 8 years old, that's kind of your minimum. And then on the maximum side, that 300 pounds is the top end of that. And that has to do with some of the safety equipment that you use because there are some different higher up walkways and things that you take. So they have to make sure that their safety equipment can accommodate everybody that is there to keep everybody safe, human and animal, when it comes to that. And as far as accessibility for this one, guests must be able to walk by themselves or be assisted by members of their party to experience this attraction. So this one is not wheelchair ECV friendly. The guests must be able to walk for that experience. So that kind of Fast and Furious are all of your options for Animal Kingdom. So let's head over to Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom and kind of the rest of these tours have a very different feel because we've kind of exited the part of the conversation that deals with a lot of animals, right? So EPCOT and Animal Kingdom are going to be where you're going to find all of those animal specific tours if that's what you're looking for. Magic Kingdom has more traditional tours kind of that they offer there. So, first one I'm going to talk about is the Keys to the Kingdom tour. And this one is a very popular, very well-known tour over at Magic Kingdom. The description online of this one says, unlock fascinating history, gain backstage access to legendary hidden areas, and enjoy lunch. So, Keys to the Kingdom is really your standard tour of Magic Kingdom that a lot of people talk about and hope to go on someday. Um, Price point is 149 to 169 per person, and again, discounts do apply for that as well. It is a 5-hour tour that includes lunch. So that price point for a 5-hour tour and lunch, that's not terrible, all things considered. Times for this are all in the morning because it is a longer tour. So 8 a.m., 8:30, 9 a.m., and 9:30 are when these tours kind of meet up to begin, which again makes sense because you have a lunch stop in the middle there. Um, Guests for this one must be at least 16 years old to attend. This tour is really geared towards the history and fun kind of facts and secrets and hidden things in the park. So they definitely want it's geared towards the older adult crowd kind of, so definitely older teens, so 16 and older for this program. This is another one because of the backstage access that you get. You are not allowed to have cameras, cell phones, or video equipment during the experience. Now, if I remember correctly, there are a few aspects where they will tell you like it's okay to take pictures or things like that, but generally speaking, you are not able to have your video devices and cameras and things out for this one. Um, Accessibility for this one, wheelchair, it is very wheelchair and ECV accessible. However, do keep in mind that if you are someone using those, you must be able to transfer to experience some attractions. So they'll go on things like the Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean or things like that. So you need to be able to transfer into the attractions, but otherwise it is completely accessible for anyone one that is using a wheelchair or ECV as far as that goes. The majority of these tours, if I remember correctly, kind of do take place more in the uh, Frontierland, Adventureland kind of area of the park. So if that is something that is interest to you, that is definitely something that you might want to look into. The other tour over at Magic Kingdom is and I put it here at Magic Kingdom because this is where we typically see it, but this is also available throughout all of Walt Disney World, and that is just your generic private VIP tour. So this is not a specific specialized tour. This is just a tour that you can purchase in order to be able to explore the parks with your own Disney private VIP tour guide. And you can completely customize your experience filled with whatever you want to do with it. Again, a lot of the times people will use this at Magic Kingdom, but you can use it at any of the parks on Disney World property. And I'm just going to read through some of the different things that they talk about on the Disney website about this. So you can see and do all of the things on your list with the help of the Disney Private VIP Tour service. You simply tell your tour guide what you'd like to see, and they will customize your day to match your tastes. So you basically give them a rundown of what you want to do, and they will completely customize your itinerary for you for the day. So you will be picked up in a private vehicle from your Disney World Resort hotel or other select hotel and enjoy unparalleled hospitality while you experience some of your favorite attractions alongside your private VIP tour guide. All VIP private tours require valid theme park admission, so the tour guide price does not, or the tour price does not replace your admission price. You still have to have a valid ticket for each theme park visited on the tour. So if you are park hopping, you have to have a park hopper. If you're just doing one park, a single day, single park ticket is fine for that because theme park admission is not included in that price. Let's talk about price. This is at the top of your price range for any of these specialty tours that we have talked about so far. It ranges and it varies anywhere from $450 to $900 per hour with a minimum of 7 hours and a maximum of 10. So, depending on your wants and needs for the day will kind of set your price point for that one. Your party may include up to 10 guests, including yourself and infants. So if you've got littles on your in your group that you want to come, they do count for your total. So up to 10 guests, minimum of 7 hours, maximum of 10 hours, anywhere from 450 to 900 per hour. So again, price point, huh, depends on your budget and if that's something that you want to splurge on. Do note that this is a really great option if you have a larger group and you have the capability in your budget because you will be able to get on every attraction that you want to get on. You'll be able to meet characters. It's so customizable and it's such a great option that Disney has to offer for those that want to budget for that and can budget for that. Just a few more notes about the VIP tour. Guests 17 years of age or younger must be accompanied by a parent. So you can't just send your kids off with the VIP tour guide. You have to go with them for the entirety of the tour. And accessibility wise, uh, it's not super clear verbiage on the Disney World website, but I imagine that it is kind of similar to what we talked about with Keys of the Kingdom. You're going to have to be able to transfer in and out of accessibility vehicles. So if you're in an ECV, you're going to need to make sure you call Disney ahead to make those accommodations and things like that, and be able to transfer in and out for whatever attractions or experiences that you're wanting to do for your VIP tour. Um, and do note just kind of a fun thing that they just started in the last year or so with these VIP tours, that there is specialty merchandise for the VIP tours experience that you can only purchase if you are on a VIP tour. They have ears, hats, ornaments, pins, all sorts of other things. And we'll talk about that also with Disneyland here in just a moment. So that kind of fast and furious is your list of the different specialty tours that you can book at Disney World. And so now I think we are going to hop on a plane and head over to Disneyland to talk about the experiences that they have over there. And a few of these, I really had no idea about before I started doing my research for this episode. So it's been really fun to kind of see what they have to offer out there on the West Coast. So the first one is the Disneyland Railroad guided tour that they have over there in Disneyland. Um, and for this tour, you will take a journey to discover Walt Disney's passion for trains and ride in the presidential car of the Disneyland Railroad, the Lily Bell. You can get a look into Walt Disney's love for trains and discover the impact it had on the Disneyland Resort. And it says, on this eye-opening 90-minute tour, sure to delight both Disneyland fans and railroad enthusiasts alike. So this is a really popular one that they just brought back not that long ago. Um, and I think that the big ticket on this one is just getting to ride on the Lily Bell because it is such an exclusive experience. So this includes on the tour, obviously the ride on the Lily Bell. You get to meet with a train engineer. You get a pastry snack included, and then you get a special keepsake of some sort at the end of the tour. This tour is $125 to $135 per person. And again, discounts do apply for this one. The times for this one are 8:30 a.m., 9, 10:45, 11:15, and 12:30. And like it said earlier, it is a 90-minute tour for this one. Guests younger than 14 must be accompanied by an adult 18 or older during the entire experience. So do kind of take note of that. But there was no age minimum listed on this tour. As far as accessibility goes, guests utilizing wheelchairs must be able to transfer from their mobility device to a wheelchair provided at the attraction because you do go on the train. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. This tour I know is really for those history buffs that really want to know more about Walt and his love for trains, this is where you want to be for that one. So definitely super specific to Disneyland just because of the historical aspect and because of the railroad ties with Walt Disney for that one. The next two that we're going to talk about for Disneyland are ones that I wish existed at Disney World, and they are holiday specific tours. So, the next one we're going to talk about at Disneyland is the Disney's Happiest Haunts guided tour. So, this one is a all Halloween themed and spooky things themed tour. So the way that Disney promotes it is they say, take a frightfully fun guided tour around Disneyland Park to unearth chilling stories and thrilling experiences. So this only runs during the fall spooky season. It is not a year-round tour. So it is scheduled to return fall of 2025, obviously. The the interesting thing about this is that they really they take you through all of the different spooky season stuff, which is so fun. So you journey through Disneyland Park adorned with spooky and delightful Halloween decorations while listening to eerie tales. You can capture a photo with the hitchhiking ghosts from a haunted mansion. You get a lightning lane entry to a select attraction. It's not always haunted mansion. They have given it to different attractions depending on the day. And you can enjoy reserved viewing of the Halloween Screams Nighttime Spectacular. So it's really kind of a fun, spooky season extra that you can book. So it includes a 2-hour walking tour with history of Halloween and Halloween tales specific to Disney. Um, and again, like we talked about, it does have the lightning lane entry included and then the reserved area for Halloween screams. Now, do keep in mind that the reserved area for the nighttime show has changed. It sometimes is in front of the castle, but sometimes it's over in the small world area for viewing. So that may sway you one way or the other. And then the photo op is with the hitchhiking ghost from a haunted mansion. This photo takes place backstage because the hitchhiking ghosts are currently not on stage because of the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay during this time of year. So you get to take a photo with the actual hitchhiking ghosts from the attraction because they are pulled backstage during this time of year for that overlay. The cost of this, now, they have not released the costs for this year for 2025 yet because it hasn't started yet. Last year, the cost was 110 per person, with discounts applying for that as well. So again, it may go up for the coming year. I don't know for sure because Disney has not released those yet. So a 2-hour walking tour with a lightning lane with your exclusive photo op and exclusive viewing section for the fireworks show, 110 per person is what it was last year. So whether or not that's worth it for you is something to consider. The time seems to be possibly like a 6 p.m. start time. But again, nothing for sure because it is not currently showing as available on the Disneyland website because we are not in spooky season yet. So be sure to pay attention to the Disneyland website. Again, all of these can also be booked 60 days in advance. So something to consider for that as you're looking for your trip maybe this fall. Also worth noting that guests younger than 14 years of age must be accompanied by an adult 18 years or older, which is the gist of what we have found for this as well. And the accessibility is not currently listed on the website because it's not showing as currently available. But that is something to look up whenever you are looking into this because I'm not 100% sure what that accessibility looks like. It does advertise it as a walking tour, but I imagine that the majority of the spaces that you would be in would be ECV friendly, with the need to be able to transfer for whatever lightning lane attraction is included in that. So that is a super fun option if you're visiting Disneyland during the fall and you are into all things spooky, a super fun thing to budget for. The next holiday time specific tour is for Christmas. So this one again kind of gives a similar feel to what we just talked about with the spooky season one. And this one is just called the Holiday Time at Disneyland Guided Tour. And again, the way that Disney kind of promotes it, it says celebrate the most magical season of all with a guided tour through both theme parks at the Disneyland Resort. So this is both theme parks for this one. You will hear heartwarming holiday stories about Walt and the Disney family and journey down memory lane as you trace joyous and festive moments held across the parks. Throughout the tour, you'll also learn about the rich tapestry of holiday traditions from all around the globe. So this guided tour includes a 2.5 hour walking tour, so a little bit longer. You get reserved viewing again for the Christmas Fantasy Parade. So Disneyland has an amazing Christmas parade. You get a exclusive viewing area for that. You get some Christmas treats included, and then you get a ride on the Small World holiday overlay for this one. So super fun and festive. This one will run you $120 per person, so right on par with what we just saw with the Halloween one. Um, but do note for this one, for whatever reason, the Disney Visa discount does apply, but for some reason, they have chosen to not give a Magic Key discount for this option. Don't know why, not really sure, but that was the information that I found on the website. Um, Information has not been released again for this year, so that $120 for this year may change. It may shift. We're not really sure until Disney releases this because, again, this is just a seasonal tour that they offer during the holidays. From past years, it seems as though this tour is a 4:30 start time. Um, Again, that is just from kind of blog information that I found online. The rest of that kind of solidified information to be determined by Disneyland once they release that when we get closer to the end of the year. And again, guests younger than 14 must be accompanied by an adult 18 or older. And same thing with accessibility. It's not on the website currently because it's not being offered, but I imagine you will need to have the ability to transfer. So again, another super fun holiday themed tour. Both of those, I wish Disney World would offer something of the equivalent, but I think those are super, super fun options. Uh, if you are a holiday person, I am a massive Christmas person. I would love to do that Disneyland Christmas one. I think that would be so fun to hear all the stories from the Disney family and from Walt and get kind of all those little bonus extras included along with that. So, those are your holiday options. Let's talk about a few more options that Disneyland has to offer. The next one being one that is very specific to Walt Disney and his history and his story, and that is Walt's Main Street Tour. Now, full disclaimer, this was available earlier this year. It is currently not showing as available on the Disney website. So even while I was doing my research for this, I looked it up. It was on there. I didn't pull all of the information off of the Disneyland website. And then, like, within a week, it was showing as not available anymore. So I'm not 100% sure when this will come back. It is one that kind of cycles in and out of availability, unfortunately. Um, Not 100% sure why, but that's just the case for this one. So it is currently not showing as available on the Disneyland website. So hopefully this will become available soon. And if you are looking into taking it, it is a Disney history tour that includes a tour of the firehouse apartment of Walt Disney's that is so famous and iconic for being above the firehouse at Disneyland. It is a 90-minute tour. And it includes some refreshments inside of Walt's apartment and also a photo opportunity by a photo pass photographer or the cast member that is with you. So either way, you'll get a photo opportunity inside of Walt's apartment, which is super fun. This is $160 per person. So a little more on the pricey aspect when it comes to this because it is just a 90-minute tour for $160, but it really is that exclusivity of being able to go in Walt's apartment that is the big draw for this one. Being such a history heavy tour, you definitely want to consider consider that when you're looking into booking. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton more information about specifications. I imagine it's probably the same as what we've seen as far as age restrictions for that. But again, you're going to have to just keep an eye on the Disneyland website to see when and if that becomes available again, because currently it is just showing as unavailable on the website. So keep an eye on that if you're someone that is wanting to book that for an upcoming trip to Disneyland. Hopefully, it will become available again very, very soon. The last thing that we're going to talk about for Disneyland is just their version of the Disneyland Resort VIP tour. So we talked about this with Disney World. Disneyland also has their equivalent from the VIP tour aspect as well. So basically, it runs the same as what it did when we talked about it at Disney World. Imagine having your own private tour guide accompanying your family as you explore the parks. So you give them your specific needs and priorities, including booking your dining reservations. So at Disneyland, they'll do your dining for you, which is super fun. You can enjoy reserve viewing for fireworks at Disneyland Park or World of Color at DCA. You can say hi to the characters, you can experience attractions, there's lots of different things that you can do. As far as price range goes, for the Disneyland VIP, it is anywhere from 500 to 800 per person, or sorry, per hour. This one is per hour. So 500 to 800 per hour. And it is a minimum of 7 hours and a maximum of 10 hours. So time frame is similar. The price point is a little bit different for Disneyland from Disney World. Again, a maximum of 10 guests, including infants, can be accommodated on the VIP tour if that's something that you want to book. And again, this is a really great way if you're in a larger group, you want to be able to go on rides. Booking, lightning lanes and using those passes sounds like a giant headache to you. Well, maybe this is in your price range and it's something that you want to do because they will help you get on everything you want to ride, meet all your characters, and do all of those things for your trip. They do say that this is if you're needing to cancel or adjust that your booking for this, if you need to call at least 3 days prior to your VIP tour to avoid a cancellation fee. So if you need to cancel, 3 days ahead of time is what you need to do. So a little bit larger of a window there to be sure that you are out your entire budget that you had allocated for your VIP tour. And do keep in mind that if you book this as part of a package deal through like a travel agency or you do a package on your own, the tour is non-refundable when canceled 4 days or less prior to arrival. So there are some pretty strict stipulations on the Disneyland version of those VIP tours. So definitely keep that in mind. If your plans change, give them a call as soon as you can to avoid having any issues with that. But again, it works the same as Disney World. It's basically the top tier tour experience that you can have at any of their theme parks. So those are the options at Disneyland. Again, some really fun historically rooted tours and some fun seasonal tours that they have over there as well, for options if you're visiting Disneyland. Now, we are going to talk just briefly here to kind of wrap up the end of this episode, about a few of the international overseas parks and kind of what they have to offer. Very limited information is online, without me having to call and try to book something, which I don't need to do for research for Mom Street. So let's talk about the Disney parks overseas and what tours they have. Now, there's not a ton of information, again, like I said, on these tours. I'm going to talk about Disneyland Paris first. And just a brief note that you can book a lot of Paris and surrounding area excursion tours through Disney and Disneyland Paris. So I'm not going to talk about any of those. I'm talking about just park-specific ones for this episode because that gets way too complicated, way too much into the nitty-gritty details of all of that. But they do have a lot of outside surrounding area excursion tours that you can book. So that's a really great option for especially people coming from like the US or other places and visiting Disneyland Paris, they have a lot of kind of internal tours that you can book through them, which is really nice. But the one tour that I do want to talk about that I was able to find some information on at Disneyland Paris is their classic VIP tour. So just like we talked about at Disney World and at Disneyland, Disneyland Paris also has a VIP tour. So, the way that they frame it on their website is you can enjoy unlimited speedy access to all of our attractions, VIP viewing areas for our incredible shows and parades, and discover the magic of Disneyland Paris like never before. So it says enjoy fast, unlimited access to the attractions. Get closer to the magic with front row spots at incredible shows and parades. Enjoy reduced waiting times to meet Mickey Mouse, the Princess Pavilion, Starport, and Toon Plaza. So those are some of their different options there. This is available for up to 10 guests. And it is a 6-hour minimum guided visit. There is an option to extend the tour with additional hours at an additional cost. So the 6-hour is the minimum aspect that you have. In order to book, you actually have to send them an email. So it's not like something that you can book on their website. It's not something that you can just like call and book. It's something that you have to send them an email. And it's dlp.viptours.experience@disney.com. And all of this is available readily on the Disneyland Paris website if you want to look into that. Um, and again, they have a similar note that we heard in all of these tours. Children under 18 cannot be left alone with the VIP guide and must be accompanied by an adult for the entirety of the experience. So it sounds like Disneyland Paris has that standard VIP tour option, just like we heard about in the other places. And Christina in our live chat here had a really good question about wondering if it's available in English. I would guess, I did not find this anywhere, so this is not true Disney fact. This is my opinion. I would guess they probably have it available in English, and that's probably something that you will discuss if you were when you do your email correspondence with them. I know from Kate and from other people who have visited Disneyland Paris that English is readily spoken and on signage and available over there. So I imagine that they would have an English version of this VIP tour. I would be very surprised if they didn't. So again, that's my opinion and experience. Don't know for sure. There's nothing specific about that on the Disneyland Paris website. But again, I imagine that they know they have a large portion of their guests that are English speaking guests. So I would imagine that's probably something that they do offer. So that is what Disneyland Paris has to offer. And just a quick note, because there's not a ton of information about Shanghai Disneyland and Tokyo Disneyland. They both also have their own versions of VIP tours that are available. Information is available on their website if you not really available. I shouldn't say that because I wasn't able to find it, but there is information about who to contact for those available on their website. Although currently the Tokyo Disneyland VIP tour is not showing as available. I don't know if that's just due to all of the construction that they've had going on at their park or why it's not available. I couldn't find that information, but they do also have those options at Shanghai and Tokyo. Again, as far as English being offered, I would imagine there's some sort of way that they can help with English speaking guests that want to take those VIP tours, but I don't know for certain. So that is definitely something to look into. I imagine some of the hour stipulations and costs are probably comparable, but I'm not entirely sure with those ones. Just because there is no information available online for Shanghai and Tokyo. So do your research, give them a call, use a travel agent, have your travel agent give them a call. Both of those things are going to be helpful if you are looking into possibly wanting to use a VIP tour for those parks over on that side of the world. So I think that kind of in a nutshell, in a fast and furious manner, is all of the details for all of the specialty tours that are available at the Disney parks. As always, if you guys have additional questions, need help finding information, or just want to chat and say hi, I would love to hear from you. You can always find me at momstreetusa@gmail.com. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all at Mom Street USA. And as always, you can reach out to us in our Discord channel. Our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp has graciously allowed us to be a part of his Discord. So we have Mom Street channel on there that you can find us. The links to all of that are readily available in our Mom Street USA social media bios. Now, let's talk about what's coming up. So we are kind of in this in between right now. We were talking about Universal in the previous episodes. If you missed those, go check those out. But you've got me for quite a few episodes here as we've got some vacations and trips happening with our hub co-hosts right now. So next episode, we are going to be talking about tips for early entry and rope drop. So you don't want to miss that if you've got a trip coming up this summer and you need help on ideas for early entry and rope drop. That is where we are headed next. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this episode of Mom Street USA. As always, I appreciate your guys' support and I love hearing from you. So please reach out and say hey. But for now, we are done for today and I will catch you on the next episode of Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.